You know Myles better than most people. You're around this team. What do you make of his Instagram reaction to all of this?
Okay, so can I tell you a funny story about said IG post? Myles is a photographer. He has also been over in Europe with I mentioned Chloe Kim. They're dating, so he's been over there with Chloe. He had posted over a number of days a bunch of pictures from Switzerland. Just random stuff out and about, like street art and other things, fountains in Switzerland. So I'm going through his IG stories. I was not familiar with that shot or that meme. Just going through real fast, I thought it was another picture from Switzerland. So I skipped right by it. I knew nothing about it whatsoever. And maybe 12 hours later, it was just one that fell through the cracks. I missed the news cycle. Somebody said to me, "What do you think of the IG story?" I'm like, "What do you mean?" Like, "You saw Myles' post." I'm like, "No, I didn't. What do you mean?" And they go back and look. Like the hot chicken sandwich, like that guy? I'm like, I have no idea what you're talking about. So I went back and I'm like, oh, I thought that was a picture from Switzerland.
Oh, that's amazing.
Like, no, that's like a meme. I said, I had no clue. I totally missed it. So yeah, clearly one would assume from that he wanted Jim Schwartz. The defense loves Jim Schwartz. Like, I get it. They've had a top 5 defense the last 3 years. Jim wants to be a head coach again. He was angling for the job. He had 2 interviews for the job. He didn't get the job. It remains to be seen how that works out. But the defense loves their guy, and Myles is one of those that certainly would have liked continuity on the defensive side. I still think there's a chance for continuity on the defensive side. I don't know. Todd Monken is introduced at noon Eastern on Tuesday. So like 24 hours from now, and we'll have a little more insight then. I think he's a really good head coach. It wasn't the pick that maybe the fans had worked their brains into believing was going to happen. Like Nate Shieldhouse, for example, that also would have been great. But a guy that's only called plays once, other than the preseason, 2023 at Iowa State. Todd Monken is a really, really, really good coach. And I'd like to draw maybe a Bruce Arians comparison. Like a guy that's been like a well-respected, in-your-face, but like fun and funny and crazy uncle kind of offensive guy for all these years with all these systems, but never gotten his shot. And now he gets his shot. I think Browns fans need to pump their brakes and wait and see.
I am always of the belief that just because you win the press conference doesn't mean that you win
Nick
the hire.
Sirianni lost the press conference.
Liam Cohen
lost the press conference.
Oh, I still cringe thinking about it, and the Jags are fresh off of a trip to the postseason. So I give it some time to evaluate.
He's going to win the press conference. I guarantee you Todd Monken's going to win the press conference.
Why Monken?
So a couple of things. Number one, they wanted an offensive guy. Number two, he had been in the building before. They're familiar with him. 2019, he was the offensive coordinator for that was not a good year in 2019. It was the Freddie Kitchens season. It all went sideways. And Todd would be the OC, but Freddie would call plays. And as legend has it, not a lot of plays that Freddie called were necessarily on what the things they worked on during the week. Freddie liked to, go into the bag of tricks and, have fun with Baker, and everything was different, let's just put it that way. But he is a detail-oriented guy that has, I'll use the phrase, made chicken salad wherever he has been, whether it's air raid with Brandon Weeden in Oklahoma State, whether it's a lot of the backs and the tight ends where they won back-to-back national championships with Georgia and what they had there, Stetson Bennett, the RPO game with Lamar Jackson. He's done a lot with what he has, and he's really good, I think, at building an offense and maybe operationally cleaning up some of the stuff that the last 2 years was a big negative.
What do we make of the Shedeur video? Because I think everybody's just constantly like, this is what 5th round draft pick Shedeur Sanders. But what do we make of the Shedeur video?
When I make that face, it wasn't you at the question.
100%.
Have you been asked about Shedeur yet?
I've been asked a few times about what we make of the video. Here's what I make of the video, honestly. Shedeur is in the building working hard, getting ready for next year. Truly. And they had met, I guess, in the pre-draft process, or maybe they hadn't, I don't know. But you saw Monken say, hey, we wanted you. That story obviously came out week 2 when the Browns were in Baltimore. That Sunday morning, the story broke. Oh, yeah, the Ravens wanted him, but they said no. I think Shedeur has a really good shot to be the guy next year, as that is going to get clipped and aggregated. But there will be other quarterbacks in the room as well. No one is handing him the job. But
but isn't
to build that relationship?
Isn't that the right approach? Like, stick there for a second, because we last segment talked about the fact that there's not a lot in the draft this year. There's one quarterback that people are clearly set on. The rest of it, we'll see. Maybe
Don't know.
Ty Simpson.
You do not know.
The best veteran out there is Malik Willis, who's going to have a bidding war.
There'll be others. There'll be Kirk Cousins. Like, there'll be quarterbacks that shake free. Kyler Murray.
Yeah, maybe. But
You can go get him.
But isn't like the rational approach to say, you know what, we're going to let Shedeur and whoever else is in the room compete for it, and if it doesn't work it out,
Absolutely.
we'll figure it out.
But I would not read into the social media team posting. I mean, they're here. The social media team is here to cover Denzel Ward and Shedeur Sanders in the Pro Bowl games and flag football nonsense as well. So, the coach is there. There's a player in the building. He happens to be the quarterback for the second half of this past season. There's no reason not to post it.
There's a lot being made about the video, a lot being made about Todd Monken's outfit as well. So, we're just in silly season.
I mean, he's
a football
he's
guy.
not Mike McDaniel,
Right?
right?
But speaking of Mike McDaniel, though, Mike McDaniel pulls his name out of the Browns' head coaching candidacy, as did Jesse Minter.
Yeah.
Jesse Minter obviously takes the job in Baltimore. Mike McDaniel takes the job with the Chargers. What do you make of this idea that everybody's pulling their name out of the coaching candidacy because they don't want to be in Cleveland?
Okay, so we just met.
Yes.
And I'm
Lovely to meet you.
Lovely. And I'm going to say this not about you, I promise, Caroline, nor about Fitz, but just in general.
Yeah.
Because like my old man will get it from whatever news app he's on, clickbait, aggregated nonsense. It is the biggest fake news garbage in the world for two reasons. Let's look at it individually. Since John Harbaugh left, I think a lot of people thought Jesse Minter had been in the building and he was likely where they were going to land. Jesse Minter had accepted that job. They announced it 90 minutes later. He pulled out of the Browns search because the job he wanted was offered to him and he said yes. So he pulled out of the search because he had already accepted the other job and was on his way to Baltimore. I would argue, let's go to Mike McDaniel, that of the 10 open head coaching jobs, the best job in this cycle was Chargers OC. Rehab for a year as a fired head coach, and then come back next year after working with the quarterback that your old job could have taken over Tua but did not. And now you get a chance to work with him with a playoff-capable defense. You get to live in Manhattan Beach. Chargers are in El Segundo, 2 minutes away. Stephen Ross gets to pay for you living in Manhattan Beach. And you get to coach Justin Herbert. It's not a knock on the Browns or the Chargers or the Raiders or the Cardinals or the Giants. To me, that's the best job. And then go pick whichever job you want next year. So him pulling out, I mean, I don't know. I think he took a good job.
It also speaks to the way that we cover these hiring processes now. Like
Minute by minute.
And teams now announcing, we've finished this interview. And I realize that that's feeding the beast that we live on. Like we live on clicks, right?
100%.
Aggregation matters. I understand that. But I think it does create this very unhealthy sort of obsession. Like the fact is, I've never hidden my Raiders fandom. Most Raiders fans had never heard of Davis Webb. And then all of a sudden you hear Davis Webb, and you're like, well, that's the guy. And then Davis Webb pulls out, and it's like, well, that must mean something catastrophic. It
means they're going to give the job to Clint Kubiak, and he knows it, and he's going to go back to Denver.
All of this can be way simpler than fans want it to be.
It's a horse race.
100%.
Yeah. And now this guy's pulling in front, and now that guy's coming around the backstretch, and he's on the, And now he's moving to the inside. It's a horse race minute by minute from the insiders, all of them, for every platform. And some of it is not nearly as dramatic as it seems. Now, when it turned out that McDaniel was then going to interview for the Bills job, that maybe changed it a little bit, but I know it sounded like hyperbole. I really do think that coaching Justin Herbert for a year with Harbaugh running things, first of all, that's like a great buddy cop show. Like, we need that for NFL film and for Hard Knocks, the two of them together. Like, that to me was a fantastic job.
I don't even know what they're going to talk about, but I would love to be a fly on the wall on just any random day in their relationship and listening to any of their conversations. But I do think so much of NFL coaching cycles, our perception is reality.
Yeah.
We think this guy is great, so he's going to be great. We think this guy sucks, so he's going to suck. That's not
like
always
you said,
how
you
it pans
fall in love
out.
with a name that's been in your timeline.
You know nothing about him. You know nothing about what was he responsible for? Was the Broncos' success this season and Bo Nix's ascension in year 2 in the NFL because of Davis Webb or not? I don't know the answer to that question.
He's going to be a head coach.
He will be a head coach eventually. I think a big part of that, too, a la the Myles Garrett Instagram story, is the perception is how in the world could you let Jim Schwartz out of the building in Cleveland? Is there a world where that relationship can be repaired and Jim Schwartz is back with the Browns?
I would like to see it happen. I can be hopeful that it happens. Jim Schwartz is under contract. I'm not going to be the wave the contract in your face guy here on TV. He is under contract. There is a roadblock here. They got to figure it out one way or the other. I would never say never. We're 23 and a half hours away from getting some kind of insight, or maybe we get no insight whatsoever. But I do think Todd Monken and that fantastic sport coat that he was wearing, will win the presser, because he is a funny cursing, like there is a Bruce Arians to him there.
I'm just going to shovel you my take on this.
Please.
You didn't ask for it, but when I heard that Monken was the hire and everybody thought they were going to keep Schwartz, I actually didn't like it. When I find out Schwartz is gone, I like it a lot more. And it's not because, like, I don't know anything about Monken. Might turn out to be a great coach, might not. I know Jim Schwartz is a great defensive coordinator. I take nothing away from that. I don't love a divided locker room. And in my mindset, like, the first thing I kept thinking is if you keep Schwartz, you're basically saying us versus them. And that, to me, is a real problem when you're trying to figure out, like, I think very simply, organizations should be built top down. So there should be a very clear line of demarcation in the sand of, like, who's in charge of what and who's executing whose systems and how everybody responds. And if you keep Schwartz, as much as I understand why that makes Myles Garrett happy, you're also basically saying, Myles Garrett, you can deal with him, everybody else can deal with the head coach. I don't love that. I actually love changing the entire locker room and changing the entire voicing around any new coach.
I get it. I really do. It's a valid point. You would hope that adults and level heads could all come together and make it work. We'll see if that actually happens.
That is fair.
Yeah, I don't know. But, like, it's also understandable that if you interview for the job and you don't get the job, let's say upper management, ownership of whatever company you're working for, you've been there for a while and you want to move to the corner office, and they interview you and they're like, hey, listen, we really like the job that you do, but we've decided that you're great in that job and we're going to hire someone else. We love you. Can you please stay? You've worked here all these years. You're a valuable member. Like, can you get over it? We'll see.
My soft-ass ego would not be able to get it.
And I
Every
get
day
that.
I would walk by the corner office being like,
I totally get that.
And football guy egos are big. Like, there's a reason why they can withstand the brunt of working in the NFL, and it's because you got a big ego and you got some thick skin.
Yeah, look, there are basic human emotions here that I think we all understand.
1,000%.
Yeah.
in the end of all of this, I guess if you're a Browns fan, to me, this is the most hopeful time, right? For every single fan base. Why not believe, right? Yeah. So as we sit here today, as broken as things have been for the last few years for the Browns, why not believe that this is going to turn it around?
I agree. And you're selling hope a lot of years for, any fan base that isn't here. They're 14 to make the playoffs, obviously, so 12 that aren't here, and then everyone else. I think there is reason for hope. At the same time, you got to figure out quarterback. You got to figure out offensive line. There are a lot of things you have to figure out, but last year's draft class gives you hope with Carson Schlesinger, who's going to be Rookie of the Year on Thursday night, with Quinshon Judkins, with Harold Fenton, with Mason Graham. Like you have with Isaiah Bond, you have these really good young pieces from last year's class. If you could, that was a home run. That was a grand slam at the draft last year.
Yeah.
Okay. If you can just hit a double up the gap and maybe easily get to second with an eye on third in this year's draft, like just have a good draft. You don't have to have like the grand slam, but a good draft. Like that's a great foundation. And you already have the defense, regardless of who's calling the defense. The talent is there, you know that.
Hope. That's all any fan base can ask for.
Hope.